Well, hello there. Hi, how's it going? Um, I'm back. I'm back doing a live, but as my channel is just getting started, of course, I'm not gonna have that many people watching. um, also, you know, if you haven't watched any of these before, this is still really my video journal. Um, I have some other ideas for how I might produce something, more legit. But, in the meantime, I'm just learning how to talk. I'm learning how to think, maybe for the first time ever. um, I'm learning about, my problems with critical thinking, my, you know, bad behaviors, I guess. I'm just learning a lot more about myself, and I'm working on myself. That's what this whole thing is about. And so far, I'm really proud that I've continued to, keep this channel up, because it was really nerve-wracking for me. It still is, especially as I become uh, pretty damn obsessed with watching YouTube content, especially over the last year. I really didn't watch a lot of YouTube, and now it's pretty much one of the only uh, things I watch. Occasionally, I watch some shows on Hulu, and that's why my title is called The Game with No Rules. I've been watching The Old Man, and there's so many great lines in that show, and I really look forward to rewatching it. Uh, to pick up all those extra things that you might have missed while you're first discovering a story. It's very interesting because sometimes those things hit you and you get to take pause and say, wow, that was awesome. But, you're focused on following the story, the plot line. And I think that's the joy of rereading books, or rewatching shows, is what's coming, and then you get to pick all the extra stuff out of it. And anyway, I've been watching The Old Man, and I've had a lot of great bits that I've wanted to pull out of there that have inspired me. And this game with no rules concept, I think, is interesting to reflect on now, because um the, the way that society's set up now, things change so fast. It's really hard to keep up. And we've focused our development of our careers, our professional development, around specialization. And so you really get, blinders, focusing you on, okay, this is what I do. This is my line of work. This is my realm. And it's hard to understand a lot of things outside of that, because there's not the time necessarily to, or you might not have any interest. And I've been really focusing myself on listening to lots of different content creators, not trying to be stuck in uh one kind of echo chamber of ideas. And the things I'm really trying to pay attention to are, those moments when I get mad about something. Then I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I need to actually pay attention to that, because maybe that's my bias. that is, um, you know, causing me that initial reaction. And sorry, there's fireworks going off because where I am in Utah, our statehood day, Pioneer Day, is the 24th of July. So people are going to be lighting off fireworks in my neighborhood all weekend. Um, I did a video a few weeks ago called I Admit It, I Am Karen, because that's one thing I I wish I could cancel is like the personal fireworks in neighborhoods. I know I enjoyed them when I was a kid, but it's a little much. But I also want to be accepting of other people, and so that's what living in society is about. So I don't want to be a complete hater. If you love your fireworks, good for you. Just, you know, be safe, please. So anyway, I didn't really prepare much for this. I was going to do a whole script and I'd started to write it out. And I was going to originally do this show on July 4th. And then I kept pushing it back, pushing it back. But it's been really good. I've been focused on work, getting into the routine of that. It's been really hot. And it makes me very humbled to do what I do because I kind of get my jobs to do for the day. I get the list of appointments I'm supposed to hit, and I can do about 3 an hour usually. Sometimes a little bit sometimes I'm a little bit faster because some of the clients, you know, they have you come twice a week, so those jobs are really quick cleanups. Some people, they're first-time clients, they have really huge properties, they have a lot of dogs, so even my one weekly client has 3 dogs, and that yard still takes me about 35, 40 minutes. So, it averages out, though, to about 3 an hour, and that's because all the clients are really, really close, and it's awesome because I'm working in my own neighborhood, my city, and then the few cities surrounding me. Salt Lake County has, I'd say, close to 2 dozen cities within the county. I don't actually know, but where I live is a pretty modest neighborhood, but I am pretty close to some of the most exclusive neighborhoods as well. So it's been very interesting to go from very humble houses and properties like mine, including some of my neighbors very close, uh, to these like estates, you know, these sprawling estates. And I am a geek in so many ways, but I've always been fascinated by exploring houses and, um, you know, yards and gardens. And I've been getting so many ideas for things that I can do in my own space. And I've been so inspired to imagine um, just how I can continue to improve the space around me. And I definitely have had issues my whole life with, you know, organizing. It's not my strong suit. I am very much like a collector slash hoarder, and that's tough, you know. And I've been trying to reconcile the psychology behind that, and I've always wondered if it had something to do with my family's being, you know, coming from a long line of displaced people. And now I myself have grown up quite privileged. That's for sure. There's no way around it. It's not just, the color of one's skin that gives them privilege. It can be that your family's established in a community. It can be that your immigrant grandparents happen to work really hard and were really humble people. And I know that the story my mom always tells me about my grandparents was that when my mom's older sister was born, we just celebrated her 66th birthday today. Um, Adrian was born with uh, some lack of oxygen to her brain at birth. And so she's got the mentality of about a 4-year-old. And I don't think she walked until my mom walked. My mom is a year or two younger than Adrian. So, fortunately, though, they call it cerebral palsy, which I think is a pretty catch-all for a lot of, it shows itself in different ways in different people. And I don't know much about the evolution of these conditions that people have experienced for generations. But what I do know about my aunt that makes her very lucky in many ways compared to others is that she's verbal. It's hard to understand her, and when she speaks, she's kind of on a repeat. But she's really sweet. She has a temper, but she can be sweet, and uh, I feel like I always had a special connection with my aunt. But when she was born with some pretty obvious developmental challenges, my grandfather, although motivated already, he was a really hardworking, smart person, but he just didn't want to see her end up in a home. And that's how it was in the 50s. You didn't often see families raising their disabled children on their own. And I think that was a huge motivator for my grandfather to work really hard. And, he had high highs and low lows. And thankfully for him, I had some resources that many families don't have. And he really did work for it uh, pretty much all on his own. One of my favorite stories about my grandfather that he would tell us was they grew up in Murray, Utah, near the train tracks, and they had these coal trains running by, and they would be on like flat cars, piles of coal, and they'd have the cooking coal and the heating coal. So I imagine one was a little bit cleaner for the cooking. I'm not sure the differences, but that's just what I remember. And the kids would jump on the the coal car and kick some off, and then walk uh, walk along the tracks back home and pick up what they kicked off, and that got them through. So that memory just popped into my head, but I included a link in my description to a story read by Alison McDowell, and the story is called Unauthorized Bread, and it's a part of another book. I didn't catch I didn't get the name of the author of the book, but Alison McDowell, I put a link to the part 1 of her reading short story about refugees in a not too distant future setting. So, I mean, the the story itself is essentially predictive programming, but it's thought provoking. So that's why we read these things. That's why I read through the Virtual War series. I want to go back to reading Orson Scott Card and reading Ender's Game and the subsequent books, because as much as I loved Ender's Game when I was young and I read that with my cousin Michael, that was a really special time when I was reading that. Maybe I didn't read Ender's Game with him, but anyway, he's the best. So these books from my childhood always remind me of my cousin. But anyway, I just wanted to get on and get back into this groove a little bit. Maybe make these videos a little bit smaller and just tell some of these little random stories that I remember from childhood about my family and their experience, because I think that will help me to uh make this of value to my kids when they're older, and as a reminder to me as well. uh you know who knows what's going to happen to my brain soon. You never know. You never know what can happen. So uh it's nice to reflect upon these the past. And I know that's one of the things that really hits me now, is like, I wish I had a camera and been videotaping my grandpa telling stories. I'm just so sad that I didn't get to do that. But he's okay. He lives. It's okay. He lives here. My grandma Arlene lives here. My grandma Lenore. Um, my aunt Jean. So I've been really wanting to reflect on my ancestors and all of the hard work that they have done to get me to where I am now. And you know, I don't think privileges protect you from hardship. And so I think that's where I'm trying to connect. You know, I don't want to feel stuck in the middle of the haves and the have nots, And I've been thinking about how how impossible it is to relate to others that have gone through these incredible experiences and tragic experiences, and that I myself haven't gone through. And it's one thing to feel like sorry for somebody, but nobody wants to feel that coming at them. They don't want to, well, some people do. They love to cry all day about their sob stories and get sympathy, but I don't think that actually nourishes them. And I think it's like a loop that you get stuck in. I know I was sort of stuck in that with Lucas having an accident. It was like I couldn't let it go. Um, I had to process it, and so I started to talk about it in a way that's like, well, Lucas had his accident, but we're so grateful that he's okay. And I just settled everything with the my neighbor's insurance, and I had a, quite a few people in my life um, questioning why I wouldn't have hired a lawyer, and why did I settle so relatively quickly. The accident just happened in October, But I just figured, well, in this instance, he is well, and I'm not gonna be greedy. I'm not gonna go after somebody out of anger. I'm grateful that the people had their dog registered, their rabies were up to date, so we didn't have to go through this whole thing of, like, giving my 6-year-old rabies treatment. Um, thank God for that. Uh, and they had insurance, and now his hospital bills are paid, and he has a little something that, can sit in a bank account for 12 years. And he has his eye. He got bitten by a dog right around his eye. He has some little nicks here and here, but the scars are looking good. He's adorable. He still loves dogs. Um, we're just we're just really, really fortunate. And I don't want to go and get greedy, you know? And when I keep hearing all this stuff about people's various fears of, the shit hits the fan kind of stuff, I'm just trying to get myself in this mindset of, oh, okay, well, if that happens, if it does hit the fan, then what do I have to offer? What do I have to offer uh, the new society? Um, and I want to be able to relate to people. I want to be able to do jobs that maybe others are not capable of doing or not willing to do. And there's certain risks that I won't take. When I worked in production, I straight up said, no, I don't feel comfortable on a ladder lifting 50 pounds over my shoulder and hanging lights on the grid, but I would do everything else in the studio that I could to assist with lighting. So I could program the lighting board, I could keep charts, I could help with measurements from the ground, I can lift 50 pounds from the ground. So, I just did my best to make sure I was of value, even though there were certain things that I physically wasn't capable of doing, or certain risks that I didn't want to take because of just the fact that I wasn't that comfortable um, pushing my limits. I wanted to stay safe. Um, so I just keep thinking about that when I'm out and I'm hot and exhausted, or I make a dumb mistake, or whatever the situation is. I just try and go back to that, like counting my blessings, uh, really feeling the gratitude of the ability to do a job that involves my body. I'm able-bodied, I'm strong, I'm building endurance. I grew up as a swimmer, and so I know that my body is capable of um, pushing itself, but I would push myself way too far and be in severe pain as an athlete. So I found a nice balance, I think, with this job. It's not like going to the gym with a trainer, which I tried, and that just frankly, it killed me. I hated it. I hated it the next day, and I hated the industry, frankly. I mean, at first I, you know, imagined that doing a production job around fitness could be really fun and interesting, and parts of it were fun and interesting, but um I'm always trying to see the bright side of everything, and so when you're eternally optimistic, you can really, uh, do yourself a disservice because you're not you're not paying attention to the red flags. I mean, I saw dozens of red flags with the company I was working for last summer, but I wanted the money. I wanted it to work out, so I called that job a unicorn job because it paid too much. What was the catch? And, about 1,000 of us lost our jobs in a blink. Uh, so after, you know, my whole gig, sorry if this is a little fragmented because I don't want to mention who I was working for. It's not about talking crap on one company or one entire industry. It's just the idea that I saw lots of red flags about the operation from the very beginning. But because it paid so well and because I was so desperate and I had lost all of my other work the year before, and I knew that I couldn't count on it. I called it a unicorn. I knew what it was, but in my heart, I was still so hopeful that I'd be able to, continue. And I got a gym membership and I got a trainer and I got um, a book on exercise prescription. And I was like trying to learn more about the fitness industry. And I'm now, once again, really grateful for getting fired from a job because I didn't get fired necessarily because of what I did or did not do. The whole operation went and moved to Florida. Hundreds of us lost our gig in a blink. So, just been reflecting on, making $3,000 a week to now having made $2,000 in 6 weeks. But that $2,000 feels really fucking good. I have to drive for my job, but I'm not driving 88 miles one way and driving home every night when I could stay in a hotel because I want to see my family. You know, um, I my favorite joke now is that I took shit for years, so I'm a pro. I could scoop dog poop, you know. It's not a big deal. I've had pets my whole life, so um it's like amazing. I get to work outside. I get to get acclimated to the crazy weather that we have here in Utah cuz any time of year there's like a 30-40 degree temperature swing in one day. Um Pretty extreme even if it's hot or cold. So it's nice to be out in the elements. It's like nice to be building up my physical endurance, to be doing something that's physically active, but not the hardest job I could be doing. There's so many hard jobs. I'd signed up for temp agency, job posting stuff. And, Amazon's always wanting its warehouse workers. So if the company I'm with now goes down or it just doesn't work out with me and them, um, there's options out there. There's options for work, but they're not going to necessarily have the flexibility that I have with this gig. And I've been trying to just be using some discernment and, checking myself. Like the the money that I earn, it has to go to keeping our cars maintained. Um, I have to be really careful with groceries. I have to make sure I'm paying all my bills. So it's really not bringing home a lot right now, but it's something. It's so much better than just having um, my husband being the only one working, because then he has to carry all of that burden. And last year he had to quit working because my my great paying gig, it was so demanding, being out of the house 12 hours a day and driving so much. He really couldn't work and and manage our house and watch our kids and everything. So we're really fortunate that we're both able-bodied right now and able to work. So I'm just going to keep counting my blessings. And I think that was the last video I posted about a week ago. It was just how grateful I am. So I really want to make sure that I recognize that, even though there's lots of things I want to be critical of and, you know, pick apart, I think we have to maintain some harmony there with everything, because I know I'm not the only one that's grateful of these challenges. The last few years, in the very least, have made me reflective on what really matters. So I want to be able to do some, not all, but do some of the hard jobs that other folks don't have the time, energy, ability, or willingness to do. So I think that's a pretty cool place to be, for me. Like, I feel like I have some purpose again, even though my job is ridiculous. Like, to tell people you're a professional poop scooper, it's weird. I feel myself being embarrassed by it when I say it out loud, but it's awesome, just in the sense of that you're done. Like, it's not some production where, like, when we would do a lot of live to tape recordings. So if you have to stop down and restart, it gets so painful. Because unlike a film set, um, in television, you're just trying to bang it out, So maybe you shoot 2, 3, 4 options, but if you have to go beyond that eighth take of, some intro with you know, a newspaper writer who's trying to read a script for the first time on TV, his eighth take isn't going to be much better than his first one that he flubbed up, because he's getting more nervous as it goes on. I was working with a lot of people who are not professional actors, and so it would get really, really painful. We would have to do, like, political candidate free speech messages um, for my PBS station. And oh boy, some of those were just ugly. And it's like, well, yeah, you did good. Let's move on. Unless there's something that you think you need to try and do a little bit better, I think we got it. It's like, anyway, these fireworks are really fucking with me. I am scatterbrained to begin with, so having the fireworks go off is not helpful, but I think this was a pretty coherent conversation. I feel good about it. And once again, just I'm so grateful. I'm so happy that I'm here, because the path I was on a few years ago, it signs were not pointing to me being, happily married for, uh, 8 years and having 2 beautiful kids, having my own home. I was really squandering that potential, and I'm so fortunate that I didn't completely fuck everything up and that I recognized loyalty and snatched my husband up and, you know, locked him down, the whole ball and chain. Uh, I've always loved to say that I never wanted to nag someone my entire life until I met the man I wanted to nag for the rest of my life. So I'm just really happy to have Zev and Clementine and Lucas in my life and so many others that have influenced me. So yeah, Kate's just a happy girl. And I'm glad I've been taking some time for myself and haven't been really reading that much, but I've been listening to some good content while I work. And when I come home, I just kind of crash out. But I've been able to get some work done around the house because I've been inspired by looking at other people's properties and kind of using that as a mirror. You know, when I go into a yard that's really fucked up, that's really messy, I don't judge them because mine is just as bad. But when I am appalled by somebody else's space, that's when I'm like, oh man, I know what people see in my own space. I want to get better about that. I want to fix it up. I want to show that I have some pride. But I really had to get over a lot of different issues that I'm still working on. And so, yeah, I wonder if my hoarding was spawned by, my traumatic, uh, my relatives having gone through traumatic experiences. Like, even though I've never gone without, there's something in me that's always felt like, well, okay, what if I don't have food? You know? So I would have like food in the house that it would go bad in the fridge. It's like I would starve myself and have food. Um, I would collect things that were put out on the street just because I thought, oh, like that's cool, that's useful. Oh, I can make something out of that. Oh, nice, a new piece of random furniture or whatever. Um, and it's funny because I had been looking for a bedside lamp that wasn't on a nightstand, and so I wanted a floor lamp, and I'd been looking all over the place on online stores, and it was amazing because the last street thing I found was this cool floor lamp that was for free outside of my sister's house at her neighbor's house. But ever since then, that was a few months ago. It was like I recognized that there was something that I really needed that was suddenly available to me. So I snatched it, but I'm saying no to things when they're offered for the first time. I would always accept things that people were giving away, or I'd have roommates that wouldn't want to move shit out for whatever reason. They were trying to downsize when they're moving out, so I would take on all these other people's crap constantly. And I'm finally getting rid of that habit of always saying yes, and I'm learning how to say no. That's been really hard for me because it's made me a flake in my life because I always want to take everything on and then I burn out and can't handle it. So, me becoming accountable for my behavior includes me being able to say no. And one of the biggest time sucks has been scrolling through Facebook, and it's been creating this whole wealth of knowledge in my brain about people that I have not seen or talked to for years, and maybe like occasionally comment or like somebody's photos or appreciate that I know what's going on, but it just got to be too much. It's like I really needed to stop being on social media for that, for just keeping tabs on people. I'm gonna miss out on a lot, uh, but I'm gonna gain something more elsewhere. And one of the coolest things I've been able to do this last year is watch my nephews a lot, have my niece come over a lot and hang with my daughter, um, play with my son, and it just, really enjoy the time that we have, because my nephew just turned 18, and when I first met my husband, um, this kid was 6. So it's crazy to be able to see kids grow up, and it's awesome, and we need to be there for them, and we need to reach out to people that we care about directly, not just keep tabs on them through these other random things, So, anyway, I'm rambling, but the fireworks seem to have died down a bit. I think they're legally allowed to shoot them off till midnight, so they might keep going for a while, but I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so, so much if you got this far. That's amazing. All right, I'll be back. Don't know when. See you soon. Bye.